Hello and welcome to the In a Nutshell podcast with myself, Andrew Miles Davis, and my co-host Chris Branch. Now, this is the daily 10-minute podcast where we take out all of the techie talk around generative AI and focus on what the everyday person, content creator, and marketer wants to hear. Now, we've only got 10 minutes, so we can only focus on one particular subject. And today we're going to talk about one of our predictions for 2024, what we think is going to be big in 2024. We said it was a prediction, and right out the gate, some of the companies have been doing some really amazing things in this space. Pika Labs is one of the big companies, and they've really, especially towards the end of last year, they were doing some big things. But one of their main competitors, and that's Runway ML, they recently, as in this week, have launched a new feature which could be a game changer. Not a gimmick. This is a game changer. So, Chris, do you want to explain what this feature is?
Yeah, so we've seen something called the motion brush, which is essentially a way of editing a specific part of an image in order to just animate that. Before this, the only option was essentially to have the whole thing move randomly and hope that the output was good. And let's be honest, 1 in 20 were good. If you've ever used that, like max, you got like a 1 in 20 chance.
Yep.
It's like a lottery ticket, essentially, scratch card that you were buying and hoping that it was going to do the thing you wanted to. Now, we got motion brush number 1, which means that you can have essentially something move to the left or up or down and, however much you'd like it to move. That was brilliant. But the problem with that one is, what if there's a train moving this way and you want the head moving this way? There was no possible way of doing that with one motion brush because you can only do one type of motion inside the image. So now what they've launched is multi-motion brush, which means that you can select on multiple things inside of an image and have them move in certain ways differently to one another and at different speeds, different directions, all of these possible juicy controllable things. So imagine that you're the director of a film and you said, I want my actor to stand here and walk this amount of distance, and I want the car to be here and drive this amount of distance in this shot. That's all possible now.
Yeah. And I think what you just said there is one of, and this is the reason why we say it's a game changer, because it stopped a problem that people were having. And that was, I only want one little thing to change. If I could just do a square here and just make this change, that would be perfect, but you couldn't. Now you can. And as Chris said, there's multiple parts of a picture you can change. So a lot of it is going to be based off of a still image. And the whole point, you get the still image and then you get it moving. Rather than it just doing one thing, you can get different parts of that still image moving. And I've played with it, and I would say it's still like what you said, where it says 1 in 20. You can get, sometimes you can get certain things doing really well and some other bits not so well. But again, patience, you need patience to get it working perfectly. But once you do, you'll really be pleasantly surprised and happy.
And it's going to just get better and better and better. As Max always says, it's the worst it's ever going to be right now. And the speed at which we saw photos change to realism was insane. Now we're going to see video take this same cycle this year. It's one of our predictions for the year, is that it's going to be the year of AI video. So watch this space, be aware that this technology is feature rich, but each platform has different things. So Pika Labs doesn't currently have this motion brush option, but they do have more fluidity in their animation. So depending on what you're looking to achieve, one platform might be preferential to another right now. We've also seen 2 big announcements from companies we didn't expect. Meta have come out with their own video platform, and then ByteDance, which is the owning company of TikTok. And now these 2 companies probably have the most video to train on in the world. Especially TikTok, if you think about how much video content's been uploaded there since it's been the #1 app in the store for years, So fascinating to see that they're both offering this stuff. Now, will it be separate to TikTok as an app, or will it just be an app inside of TikTok, which is what they're, sort of famous for, is offering all these features to their users, like filters and do this and do that. So fascinating to see that these 2 have now joined the race, and it could massively speed it up.
Yeah, I think TikTok has been, out of all of the social platforms right now as we speak, at the beginning of 2024, for me, TikTok has been the one that's embraced AI. No, I wouldn't say they've embraced AI the most. I think they've got the best features with AI.
Hmm.
Most of the platforms now, Meta, YouTube, so Facebook, YouTube, Instagram,
Hmm.
TikTok, they've all got some form of AI
Snapchat as
features
well.
within it. Snapchat, and when I say AI, I'm talking about generative AI features.
Hmm.
Um, but I think you're going to see a lot more this year. I think a lot of them will be the same, pretty much the same. And I think even this motion brush feature will be included.
Mm,
I'd be interested to see when YouTube enters this space as well, because you talk about
definitely.
having a lot of videos. You know, YouTube's got a substantial amount of videos that it can train on,
And
and I
that's
think
owned by
that,
Google, which has even
and
got
that's
more, you know.
Google. Yeah, once you add in Google, like all their
Right.
resource, I think that's going to be an interesting space. But I think
Mm,
that when we talk about Runway ML and this motion brush,
mhm.
I don't know how it works, but do they own the patent for that particular motion,
No,
or can that be used in other
definitely. Like what
things?
we've
Yeah,
seen as in other technologies is when something proves to be very useful. You mentioned ideogram in the last episode,
yeah,
and they prove text to be useful, and now most
everyone can
platforms,
do it. So
Midjourney, DALI 3, yeah.
it might
So
be if they've just trademarked a name, but people can do pretty much the same thing, but
exactly,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
different name.
Even the
Sure.
idea of motion brush, they might call it that in other platforms too. If that
Mm,
proves a popular term for what it is that the feature is doing,
yeah,
essentially, like what you said, you're just highlighting an area of a still image and saying, move this in this
yeah.
direction.
Well,
And
I
this,
hope that Runway and Pika Labs, I hope they get a far enough head start before Google and TikTok
mm,
and Instagram and Facebook, they have pretty much all of their features and put it within
mm,
that. You know, I really hope they get a good start. Otherwise, there's because most people will use this stuff on Runway or
mm,
Pika Labs, and they for distribution they'll put it on their social media sites.
mhm,
So hopefully it will be like a CapCut where you kind of use it as, even though it's owned by TikTok, it's an
mm.
individual platform where you can use and create and put it into it that way.
That's a really good point. Now, I'll raise something that I thought was, as a marketer, really good of Runway to be doing, and that is building community.
Yeah.
So, outside of a platform, we've mentioned in a previous episode, they now do a thing called Runway TV, which
Yeah.
is essentially 24-hour broadcasts of
24/7.
people's
Yeah.
stuff. They also do film competitions, and they're building real communities outside of just being a platform for video. So, I feel like, in terms of sparing them in the long term, if a big company like Google or TikTok does take over the space, they're doing the right things to, be building a community that cares about them more than just their platform.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. To be honest, you could even see if you look at the likes of Canva. You know, Canva's got a really
Yep.
nice community as well. They've built a very good community, especially around tutorials and how to do certain things. This feature again could be in Canva, and I think this is one of those game-changing features that
Mm-hmm.
will really help people, especially when it comes to creating these short films. You never know; these short films could be part of film festivals using this technology. That that's how powerful this technology
Definitely.
is right now, and I'm saying right now. However, the other flip side is in 3 months' time, that technology may be replaced by something else. I don't
Mm.
know what it would be, but it's something else that does the same thing more efficiently, more effectively as well.
Well, you've
So,
just mentioned another thing that Runway is actually plugged into Canva. And that may save the platform in the future,
mm,
because Canva's user base is in the hundreds of millions.
yeah,
And like, if it's always the case that Runway provides the video stuff for Canva and they don't make their own version, that
yeah,
could literally feed your whole company. So,
that's nice.
smart
Yeah, yeah,
partnerships are another reason that companies could survive this big, you know, uh, company takeover, because that's
yeah.
essentially coming for all this AI. Is that Google, Meta,
They're all
Samsung,
coming. Yeah, yeah,
Apple, Microsoft, they're all going to see the money
yeah,
and
yeah.
then make their own versions of that thing.
So it could be, as you said, smart partnerships. So these small to medium sized platforms team up with each other, and then you'd be
Yeah,
like you're forming like Voltron, So it's like all five parts actually makes one big part,
exactly.
which then can compete against the big companies.
Exactly.
So in a nutshell, when it comes to video generation, some of the things one of the main things that we predicted in 2024, already and this is probably 2 weeks after we made the prediction video, you're already seeing leaps and bounds in this particular space. So go to Runway ML, start playing around with the motion brush, and you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Agreed. And, from my perspective, the more control I get, the more creativity I can have. So that's a really good thing to see.